Hey, so I just cannot get this and the next video through copyright, no matter what I do. And as much as I want to have the clips be the visual aids, I also recognize that if I don't change something, then I'm never going to get these through, and I really don't want my channel to become a rent-a-girlfriend only channel, so sorry, I'm just going to have to use footage of me laddering.
Actually, Kerbeus is blocking his every move.
I like how they have Shu deliver the information that Volt's rush launch isn't working as well here as it did against Rantaro, since Toka, Nika, and Rantaro are all caught up in their happiness about Volt succeeding, so it is nice how they just know which character would logically deliver this exposition here.
Because of his chain-shaped seal.
Also, more exposition about the bay itself that is kind of thrown in the trash in later season dubs.
It hasn't deviated from its axis yet.
It is kind of funny how they decided to go with it hasn't deviated from its axis yet, instead of it hasn't taken any damage, or it hasn't been knocked on its side, or a multitude of simpler phrasing. I think they just chose this to show Shu's intelligence, but it is kind of a funny line to throw in a kid's show.
This must be why they call King Kerbeus the guard dog of the underworld!
I mean, they just call it that because it's named after Cerberus, right? It has nothing to do with its defense. But all good, commentator, you do your thing, man. Not gonna lie, I kind of prefer this animation of the rush launch more than most of the other ones, because it is a great way of showing that the move is a rapid amount of not that strong strikes. Although here's a question, is the reason that Valtryek starts to dish out more damage supposed to imply that Volt's resonating, Ken's being too cocky about his bay, or foreshadowing Volt's awakening? Let me know in the comments, because for the life of me, I can't work it out.
It's a simultaneous survivor finish, so that's no
I
point.
do kind of like how this show does take the time to let the concept of a tie sink into us, since before we haven't seen or heard of one yet.
The second battle is declared a tie. They go into a third.
This is a really weird line. The only way there isn't a third battle in this case is if Volt loses or Volt wins with a burst, since Ken has 1 point and Volt has 0. So if it's a tie or Volt wins with a survivor or ring out finish, then they go to a third battle.
This time, I'm gonna do a perfect rush launch for sure!
Also, it is notable that they have Volt blurting out his strategies at the start, since that's another trait that they give to Dante and Rise, but we'll talk more about that when we get there. Although, to be fair, this isn't really much of a game changer for Ken, since obviously Volt would use the rush launch, since there's a 0.0% chance that a flat launch would cut it.
Like him isn't smart enough to come up with that kind of strategy.
As well, not only would Volt need to make people think it was a mistake, he would have also had to have been acting this stupid at school and at the previous parts of the tournament just so he could get a win in this round? Like, that just doesn't add up.
You shouldn't have said that out loud! You can't go giving insider tips to your opponent, especially when you're already losing!
Like, as much as Matt nailed it here, I mean, it is kind of annoying how the show keeps treating it like this is just a big revelation. Wow, this guy with one move is going to use his one move when he's losing. Like, of course he's going to rush launch here. Like, Ken could easily work that out, and the fact that he just said it is just confirming the most obvious hunch ever. Besides, Ken can just, like, look at his launcher to figure this out. So, again, this blurt out is not as bad as everyone's treating it to be.
He's too focused to hear anything you're saying.
Cool they bring that up all the way back here, but it is kind of funny how Shu seems to be the only one who's ever allowed to point this out.
Oh yeah, thanks you guys! Don't even worry about it!
It is a lot cooler that they have Volt snap out of it after getting some cheering from his actual support team, instead of a massive crowd of background characters, which would have just come off as really lame.
Thanks to my moral support.
I mean, Hancho is 1/3 of the moral support that Volt received, so he can thank himself somewhat. It is nice to have Volt smiling right before the battle, since that's one of his defining traits going forward, so it's cool that they make sure to set it up this early.
Our survivor finish is in the bag!
I wouldn't count on that, considering you tied with him after a goddamn mislaunch, But I guess you gotta say something in your trash talk, so whatever.
React seal layer is just barely scraping the sides of the stadium.
The fact that it's not even touching the stadium. First he thinks that the floor is a wall, and now he can't even see when the Beyblade is touching the stadium floor. Maybe this guy shouldn't be the commentator. Damn, this is early to be using this theme. I didn't remember it was in this battle. Guess they needed some music to fill the space, but they really should be saving this one, because it really would lose its impact if they used it too much. Kinda funny how they use this same animation around Valtryek here, when Xander launches Breaker Excalius in Turbo, but I think it was way cooler there than it is here.
That launch angle looked like it was too steep, but in reality, it's creating a stronger downforce.
So I am conflicted over this because this is a cool way to get around one of the flaws of the Rush launch. The fact that while an angle too steep can lead to the base scraping, there are some angles where the steepness doesn't hurt Volt but helps him, since the scraping is caused by more loose grip on the stadium floor, whereas in this case, he has a good grip from the downforce, so he wouldn't scrape. However, the fact that downforce is never brought up again is kind of annoying, and especially in the aforementioned example of Breaker Excalius literally using the same animation for it, because this is a good way to get around the flaw of just angled launches in general, something that pretty much everyone uses throughout the show, so it would be nice if they dropped this occasionally. This is a great way to show you how Volt is succeeding, because even from first contact, Cabeus is tilting almost to the point of scraping, clearly showing why Cabeus loses stamina so quickly here. Dude, chill the fuck out, it's not even outside the inner circle. Dude, this commentator is really, really stupid in these early episodes, and you can tell they almost compensated for it with how basic the observations he makes in the rest of the show are.
Grab the center spot, and the match is on!
Yeah, because you definitely didn't have the center when Valtryek and its downforce rocked up the first time. Although I am joking, since obviously it being in the center gives it a much better chance, since it got a draw last time. So definitely being in the center would be good if you want to do some damage control here. They have the avatar coming out visual for Cabeus' avatar doing a different animation. Like, when Valtryek does a new animation, they just show the avatar on screen and then have it do the animation. But here they have it coming out again, as if Cabeus needs to come out again to do this new animation. It's just kind of weird. So the way Cabeus bursts here is interesting, because the way Valtryek attacks there looks like a later season Breaker attack as it came in. So it bursts almost like Valtryek was attacking the disc, which it clearly wasn't.
My Cabeus lost.
I also like how they held off on showing us Ken's real voice until after he lost, since the fact that we didn't know his real voice and only heard his puppets made him more intimidating. But now that he's lost, they don't really need to make him intimidating, so they're freely able to just show us his voice.
You know, there are only two kinds of bays. The ones that win, and the ones that lose.
I mean, to be fair, this line, while it does sound cool, isn't necessarily a rebuttal to the argument that Daigo should be afraid of Volt, because Valtryek could be the kind of Bay who wins, too. What are you gonna do then?
Nice match, shake on it?
Look, as much as I complained about the pacing of the arc in the last episode, this is a really good way to resolve it. And it makes a lot of the stupidest stuff from last episode feel worth it. The benefits of serialization, I suppose.
Don't be so shy.
This scene is not only cool for showing Volt's friendly nature, but also for having Ken in a more light-hearted environment, which is a good way to set up his change of character.
Good job, but we've certainly got to find you a cool new move.
I mean, he is right. Only having one move doesn't really leave you open to much play. Just a shame there are a myriad of bladers in the season, ironically including Rantaro, who only have one move. So while I agree, the season clearly doesn't.
Seriously, not all of us can pull off wearing a cape to school every day.
It's not a cape, Kay!
Yeah, it is!
A couple things. First of all, this is a really good line read from Sabrina, and second of all, this is a really good way of showing off Rentaro and Volt's friendship.
Bay is a defense type. Obviously, I've got the clear advantage.
I mean, I think Daigo has the clear advantage of his Bay having a name, but all good.
How can they be comparing Valtryek to Doomsizer?
Because it's called good commentary, you want to not only help remind people of the previous matches, but also try to point out that while people would expect the defense type to win, the previous match shows that it isn't that simple. Also, something to note that this combo, a white recolor of Storm Spry's Unlimited Press, is one of the most common generic combos in the series. Seriously, it shows up everywhere.
I'll only need 5 this round.
This moment is good to establish Daigo's ability to get in his opponent's head, since that is what the show will focus on when he goes up against Volt. So it is really cool how if you check the runtime of the show, they actually have Daigo win in exactly 5 seconds of show runtime. Just some good attention to detail by the showrunners.
Yeah, well, soon you'll meet the same fate, you know.
Well, we'll see about that.
It's so weird how close Daigo and Wakia are at the start of the show, considering that not only do Volt and Daigo end up closer, but Daigo doesn't even have that much insight to offer Volt about Wyvern later, considering how much time he spends with Wakia.
Only one blader I have to beat, and that's Shu Kurenai.
It's insane to me how much stuff they managed to pack into these first few episodes. I forgot that they established Wakia's rivalry with Shu this early. So this episode is good. Packed in plenty of good character moments with Volt as support, Ken, and even Daigo and Wakia, which is great to see. The battles are pretty well done, even though the commentator is still an idiot too, which is also a plus. Well, see ya.